Hi everyone, it is Professor G. This week in our movie course, we are thinking about Inception, which is a movie from about 10 years ago. It was done in 2010 by a director who we may have heard of named Christopher Nolan. He was the director behind many of the Batman reboots. So he did Batman Begins, he did Dark Knight, he did the Rise of Dark Knight. So he has that film. He did Dunkirk, which is a film from a few years ago. He did Memento. So he's done all of these different movies over the last 10 years. And I'm giving you Inception by him. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this movie, which can be sort of disorienting, can be sort of trippy in terms of how it functions. So I'm just going to dive in. So there are a couple of main points I want to make about Inception, and then as usual I'm going to hand the reins over to everyone, and we'll be able to kind of take the conversation wherever you want to take it. And I'm going to very quickly start making notes on here. So one of the things I want to point out about Inception is how the premise of the film allows for levels of reality. And I'm going to put quotes around reality just because I think that the movie wants us to think about what reality is and how it exists and if it exists and what it would even be like, right? We tend to think of reality as this kind of objective world, right? Things simply are real. One of the things that the movie gets us to think about is how that might not be the case. That there is a way, and there's a philosophical argument about this. There's a way in which all reality is funneled through personal experience. All right, and I'll use a very, very sort of quick example to think about this, and you can find a lot more online, or if you want to talk about it more, that's what discussion boards are for, that's what quizzes are for. So if I were to just simply pick up an object, right? So I have this in front of me, so a glass of water. All right, so the temptation is to say that the glass of water exists, right? It exists out in the world. There's an objective quality to it. Now, one of the things that's important about reality is that there's no way for me to know that, right? Everything, the sound it makes, how it feels in my hand, all goes through my mind. I cannot think outside of my mind. So, therefore, my experience of everything around me, the physical objects, the people who inhabit my world, all of that is in some way funneled through or put through my own subjective experience. All right, so, and I'll put this here, subjective experience versus, objective reality. All right, so the film basically allows for reality within reality within reality. All right, so when we have this sort of setup where you can enter someone else's dream, and then you can enter someone else's dream within that dream, and then you can enter someone else's dream within that dream within that dream, right? You have these different levels of reality, and it's kind of hard or even impossible to figure out which reality is real, in any sort of objective way. And in fact, one of the things that the movie does, and this is an argument, we don't have to agree with it, is that it throws into question the idea of an objective reality at all, right? And in a very real way, we actually deal with levels of reality all of the time, just not in this way, right? So for example, if you and I were to be in the exact same room, all right, and we witnessed the exact same thing happen, right? And then afterwards, they split us up and they put us into separate rooms, and someone asked us how, what happened and how we experienced it, we would have very different kinds of reality. what sticks out to me might be very different than what sticks out to you, right? So even in the real world, right, in the same room, people inhabit different kinds of reality. And this is just how the human mind works, right? Because all of our minds work through information differently, right? And we're not just sponges absorbing information. The human mind doesn't work that way. We are constantly leaving out information. We're editing information. Our minds are making decisions about what's important and what's not important. All right, so levels of reality. I think it's one of the big things about the film, and I will be giving everyone in the stuff for this week a graphic kind of helping you out because there's a lot going on with those various levels because you really have by the time you get to the end of the film, you have 5 levels of quote-unquote reality. All right, so I'll give you a graphic that kind of works through that a little bit. All right, now the second thing I want to bring up, and then I'll just leave it at that, is ambiguity. All right, so ambiguity, put really, really simply, is the idea that you can give 2 or more reasonable alternatives and you cannot choose between them confidently. Right, so again, 2 or more reasonable alternatives, but you cannot choose between them confidently. So, one of the big things we will be thinking about is the ending, that top. All right, so if you look online, there are a lot of articles about how this is the greatest film mystery of the century so far. Right? Trying to figure out whether that top falls. All right, and again, that top is a totem. All right, and so a totem is the character's way of figuring out whether they are in someone else's dream. All right, and this was Amal's totem. So this is the wife of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, so Cobb, and she has this totem that she can spin. If it falls, you're in what is considered objective reality. If it keeps spinning, never falls, you're in someone else's dream. Now, there's a very particular reason why Christopher Nolan decided to go to black before that top has the ability to fall. All right, now, I think that we have a temptation here. I think the temptation is to try to figure it out. The temptation is to try to be confident in terms of whether we think we are in a world of objective reality or someone else's dream. Now, I think that the movie, if we take it just kind of on its own terms, actively resists that. The movie and Christopher Nolan want the ending to be ambiguous, right? So we want to think about, and the human mind often works this way, we want to think about the ending in terms of black or white, right? Either it's a reality or it's a dream. But I think that if we are really responsible with thinking about the movie, we have to really get comfortable with the gray area, right? Because Christopher Nolan, I think in some ways, wants us to throw our hands up and just focus on the ambiguity of it all. And he actually talks about this in one of the assignments. I will give you a speech that Christopher Nolan did. And he talks a lot about this ending and how, at least for him, if you're able to decide confidently whether it's a dream or reality, if you're able to do that, the film didn't work. Right? That it missed the point. That his point is we need to be in that kind of middle ground, and a lot of life, of human life, is about being in that middle ground, right? When we can't confidently say one thing or another, but things are ambiguous. All right, so I'll put that Christopher Nolan wants us in the middle. So I'm going to hand the reins over to everyone at this point in the quizzes and discussion boards. because I want us to think about why he would do that. I think that he has a particular reason for it. Your reason may be very different than my reason, and that is fine. But anyway, those are the main things I wanted to pick up, about the film. And now I'll hand it over to everyone in the course, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with.